Let's talk about Nvidia.
Great to see you.
Nicole, thank you for having me.
Welcome. $800 by 2030. So you say it so I can hear it.
Yes, I believe Nvidia will hit 800 by 2030. I look at things from a long-term perspective and from a technology perspective. But just based on the numbers that were released today, solidify that view. And I'll give you an example, and I think it's important to I'll talk about the numbers once, and then we'll move on to how the technology drives the numbers. So today, they've reported $35 billion in one quarter, which is 3 months. They had a total of $27 billion over 12 months last year.
Right.
So that means in 3 months, they exceeded their entire 2023 earnings by $8 billion. I'm not sure there's a stock in the history of the exchange that has driven that much in billions in revenue, while also achieving 50% margins. So if you do the math on that, 35 a quarter, they're already at a 140 clip in terms of revenue. And in order to achieve the prediction of 800 by 2030, they need to be at 600 billion in revenue. So we're right on target.
And look, I mean, you had Jensen Huang talking about the demand being incredible, more and more demand for the Blackwell chips, and those are already out in the hands of some of the companies and being integrated and everything. The big picture here seems pretty strong overall. You talk about the technology of it, and you're spinning it even into the government, a way that maybe we didn't talk about this.
Yes. So let's talk about the 3 drivers for Nvidia and why I'm so bullish on it. The first driver is the AI revolution, which everybody talks about. And the penetration right now on AI is literally less than 1%. So that's important to take into consideration based on the performance they've already achieved. The second, which nobody talks about, is the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. Morgan Stanley, Goldman, and Citibank have all given estimates of that from 8 to 12 trillion dollars by 2030. 8 to 12. So we'll use the midpoint, which is 10 trillion. Right now, there's less than 1 trillion spent on Web 3.0, which means it has an opportunity to grow 10 times more. So that's why where the stock is now, which is around 140, going to 600, is actually a very conservative prediction. But there's a new thing that came up based on your question, which was the government. They just started, Musk and Vivek started the Department of Government Efficiency, which is looking at how you cut waste from the government. Now, they call this the second Manhattan Project, and nobody's spoken about this. The first Manhattan Project is when they created the atomic bomb, which has changed the way wars are fought, and it was a game changer. They call this the second Manhattan Project. And the reason why, if they do it right, is they're going to reinvent how government is managed and delivered. And I want to give specific examples. The federal government has over 300,000 buildings. They're the largest building owner in the U.S. You can take all of those buildings and you can build digital twins for them, and you can operate and maintain them off your phone using AI. In addition to that, all the government infrastructure you can build digital twins for, and you can actually drive those through AI. And the cost will come down tremendously. And to give you an example of, because people talk about
digital twin. What company builds digital twins? Oh, it's that one company, Palantir? Is it Palantir? Is it called? What is
I
that
have
company?
a value, and I've never talked about this on the show, but I actually built the market surveillance system that drives the Nasdaq market, catches people for insider trading, trade reporting. It used to take 4 months to catch somebody who were doing something illegal. We delivered the system. It takes 1 minute. So if you want to talk about how that will affect government manpower and services, there's your best
example. And efficiency,
yes,
in a big way, without a doubt. It's unbelievable what you're talking about. The question is whether or not Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy can actually get this done in, the period of time that they have.
Well, let's take it piece by piece.
You're talking about, reinventing. You talked about the atomic bomb as the first Manhattan Project and this being the second. How quickly can this happen?
So let's take this piece by piece. So the Biden administration actually put AI heads for each of the top agencies, and I actually met with the head of HUD, and we discussed digitalization of all their assets. So you couldn't have a better person in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency than Elon Musk, because he's the godfather of autonomous cars. which is a cognitive car. So what I'm talking about is autonomous buildings, autonomous bridges, and so on, and all the infrastructure. So you couldn't have a better person in charge. And just so you know,
how long... Do you think it can happen?
I absolutely think
it can happen.
It's all about implementation.
Yeah, and Nvidia will be a beneficiary.
So let's talk about
let's talk about, when you talk about the AI revolution, what names will benefit?
So this is really important for people to understand. We had a CPU-dominated environment for like the last 60 years. CPU is single processing.
Yeah.
Nvidia builds GPUs. In order to drive AI, you need GPU. So think about the opportunity from a revenue standpoint. They've only penetrated around 1%, and they have 40% of their revenue coming from the hyperscalers, which leaves 495 companies that haven't engaged in AI, which leads hundreds of cities and 100 governments worldwide. And all of them will be engaging NVIDIA. Know why? Because in order to drive AI, you need GPUs.
Yeah, so NVIDIA is it sounds like. I mean, what about all the others? I mean, when we think of AMD and Taiwan Semi, and do they benefit too, or not really?
So this is important for people to understand, because this is a question I get all the time.
First off, TSMC, they benefit from any time a chip's made, basically. So if anybody's got their revenues going positive in any substantial way, and they're selling more chips, Nvidia, AMD, Intel, doesn't matter who it is. Intel might be debatable because now they're having their own fabs, but basically almost any of these chip makers, whenever they're doing well, TSMC is going to benefit from that.
They're like, well, there's other chip players out there, and they may have cheaper chips.
Intel.
It's not just the chip. So NVIDIA provides the chip, the programming language, which is CUDA, the networking, and the most important thing, which nobody talks about, which is Omniverse, which is digital twins. So in order to do all that autonomous, to make it work you actually have embedded AI. And you need all of those things. Also, the people who have been trained on AI, they've all been trained in CUDA. So they created like a moat.
In this language.
They created a moat around the castle.
All right, we have to go, but just a quick background. How did you get into this and have the...
Yes, and that's exactly why I don't expect AMD to beat Nvidia. It's not like betting on AMD stock, I'm ever like, they're going to take out Nvidia. Heck no. No, they're not beating Nvidia. But they just got to beat a very good number 2 player in all these markets, and that's all that matters. And if they could be number 1 in a market here or there, great. But my bet on AMD is not for them to dethrone Nvidia and they're gonna be the next $10 trillion company. No. Like if AMD becomes a $400 billion market cap, a $600 billion market cap, right, which is still a fraction of Nvidia, or $800 billion market cap, that's still like a smashing success for me in regards to AMD.
And that you do about this?
Well, as I mentioned, I built the market surveillance system.
Yeah. So were you studying this when you were 12?
So the bottom line is, I'm a believer in technology and how it can lead people forward. And also, I was also senior advisor for NEOM, which was the world's first cognitive city, where they were building it digitally. So I'm a big believer in a digital-first approach. And that's why I'm such a strong believer in where NVIDIA is going to go, because the bottom line is AI has only just started.
Right.
By 2030, once NVIDIA penetrates all those different markets, it's going to literally go to the moon. My estimate of 800 is actually conservative. There's going to be an AI arms race. And do you know what that means? That means corporations are going to be competing, cities are going to be competing.
My man's tied in. That's all I got to say. Everything's checking out, right? My man's tied in. He's got the veins showing. He's got the slick back hair. He's got the full gold watch. Man's definitely tied in.
And militaries. And NVIDIA's penetration in those other areas is minimal to none, and they will penetrate them all.
All right. Phil Panaro, founder, former CEO, Boston Consulting Group at Palantir. Thank you so much. Great conversation there. Pretty amazing. I think AI is also going to be determining in the future. Phil probably knows what I'm thinking right now. All right. Thank you.
Did she like him? I swear she was hitting on him multiple times. I don't know. Hey, it's Jeremy. I hope you really enjoyed that clip here today. What you're looking at in front of you right there, that's 1000xstocks.com. That is my personal advanced software that I use to make my investment decisions when I go to invest in companies. As somebody that's been in the market 15 years, I got sick and tired of using these different services that folks have out there that are designed for traders in the market. People that are looking to get in and out of stocks. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to long-term invest. I need to be able to see all the different ratios and metrics that are very important for me as a long-term investor to judge if I'm getting a great deal on a stock or if I'm getting ripped off on a stock. I need to be able to compare different companies versus each other and be able to do that in a matter of seconds rather than it taking hours like it used to before I created this service. I want the ability to listen to conference calls, see SEC filings all in one service. That is what we've created with 1000xstocks.com. If you are looking to access this software, go down to the description area of this video. You can click the link down there and apply for access. If you don't want to do that and you want to search a website, go to 1000xstocks.com. Enjoy it. AMD. Yeah, I just started buying the stock really in the past week or so. AMD's just gotten to a very attractive valuation, and I have to start a position here because there's major upside over this next few years, in my opinion, in regards to AMD stock. I bought another 50 shares here today in my Ally account. Ally account, it's a smaller portfolio I have, and that's where I bought all these stocks at here today. My Ally portfolio is probably less than $300,000, so I just have some money over there, and that's what I thought, let's go ahead and make some buys here today, $33,000 worth of buys. So yeah, AMD was the first one, 50 shares, 138 I paid for those. This was about a $7,000 move in regards to AMD. Now, I want to give you a different frame of thought in regards to AMD, because I know I spoke about AMD a couple times in the last, let's say, week or so since I started buying the stock. But I want to give you a different frame of mind. I want to actually pin it against the big dog, Nvidia, the most respected company in the space, right? And Nvidia stock, I've obviously made tremendous amount of money on this over this past year, right? I'm completely out of my Nvidia position now at this point in time, but there's a reason I'm buying AMD over Nvidia right now, because I believe AMD's return profile over the next several years is going to be far outpacing Nvidia, and I don't even think it's going to be relatively close. And here's why. When you look at AMD's forward P, you look at Nvidia's forward P. AMD is actually significantly below Nvidia's forward P. Now, additionally, AMD is also significantly below the 2-year forward P as well. Now, keep in mind, I think Nvidia and AMD will likely beat numbers next year, so both of their forward Ps and 2-year forward Ps are likely lower than what they're showing there on 1000X here, right? Because they're probably going to beat analyst expectations. But you got AMD trading lower than Nvidia. Now, here's the situation. Trailing 12-month earnings per share growth is faster for AMD than Nvidia. The current year expected earnings per share growth faster, and next year AMD should significantly outgrow Nvidia when it comes to earnings per share growth. And I think that's going to be for at least the next 3 years. So I'm talking 2025, 2026, and 2027. I believe AMD is going to far outgrow Nvidia when it comes to earnings per share growth, and I don't even think it's going to be close. 5 years out, 10 years out, that's a much bigger prediction, right? And I think that's a much harder prediction. But I can really see out over this next 3 years how AMD is going to far outstrip Nvidia when it comes to that. Now, here's another frame of thought to think about, right? This is from the Q4 2022 bottom, right? Since that time, Nvidia stock is up 1,100%. AMD is up 140%. Nvidia 100% deserves the move it's made here. Some people call that a bubble. Not if you look at the numbers. Sure, if their whole business model crashes, then you're going to say it was a bubble, right? But as long as their business model keeps executing, they don't even have to grow nearly what they've been growing. They deserve that 1,100% premium, right? But AMD is only up 147% from that bottom, right? I think there's going to be a lot of catch-up to be played in 2025, 2026, and into 2027 when it comes to AMD stock versus NVIDIA. And I'm not necessarily thinking that NVIDIA is going to crash and it's like, oh my gosh, NVIDIA is like down 50% or something crazy, right? I just believe AMD's upside is going to be significantly more as they play catch-up, especially in regards to the data center AI space there. Now, 2024 performance is what we're looking at here, right? This was another year of NVIDIA. 2023 was the year of NVIDIA. 2023 was the year of NVIDIA. 2024 is the year of NVIDIA, right? And I believe 2025 and 2026 are going to be the years of AMD. Like I said, not like it's impossible to make money on NVIDIA stock over the next few years, but I just believe I would look at it the same as you looked at the last 2 years in regards to NVIDIA versus AMD. Last 2 years, it's like, could you have made money in AMD? Sure, there was some money to be made. But where was the huge money to be made? It was to be made in NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA got out there first. They got their AI chips in the market first. They beat AMD to the punch. AMD, lagging in regards to that, right? Now it's catch-up time. And so I believe the big money is going to be made in AMD stock over this next couple of years versus NVIDIA. Because you're going to have the embedded growth. You're going to have the gaming get back to growth, in my opinion, in 25, 26, right? You're going to have data center growth rates far outstrip the data center growth rates in regards to NVIDIA, right? Absolute number could be bigger for NVIDIA. growth rate number should be much more extreme when it comes to AMD overall. And so overall, I think you're going to see 25, 26 really be the years of AMD versus the years of Nvidia, right? And once again, that's not saying there's not money to be made there. Now, I believe, so you may say, next question might be, why not a position in the public account? I'm probably starting a position in the public account with AMD likely this coming week. High probability. When I say high probability, I'm like 90% probability I start a position in AMD stock this upcoming week in the public account. And there's 7 stocks I hold in there that have gained me more than 100%. Amazon's now over a double up. Woohoo! 103% on Amazon, 125% for SoFi, 190% gain for Revolve, 426% for Meta, 916% for Palantir, 1,817% for Elf on a shelf, and then 2,700% for Tesla. When I look at AMD, I believe AMD will likely, when I start adding that position, I believe that will grow to become my 8th position in the public account that will end up with a 100% plus gain on it, and likely several 100% a gain. And it's not like I'm just like, oh, I think it's going to go up a lot because, you know, it's a really good company and Lisa Su's leading it. No. I'll show you the numbers right now. I'll show you the numbers, and you'll begin to see, oh, like AMD's got so much upside. And these numbers aren't crazy. I'm about to take you through, and you'll realize, oh my gosh, like AMD's likely a 2x, 3x, 4x, maybe even 5x opportunity just over the next few years here, right? By the way, if you're wondering, do I think PayPal's going to get to that 100% level? I do believe that. It's, you know, PayPal's just a slow, steady mover up. That's the thing. Like PayPal, you know, we've made $85,000 on it in the public account. Like, you know, I understand it's not the biggest amount, but it's $85,000 is $85,000. So that's a slow, steady mover. I wouldn't be surprised if PayPal eventually is a 100% plus stock. So let me show you some numbers in regards to AMD, and you'll begin to understand why this stock has so much upside ahead. What I'm showing you right now is on 1000xstocks.com. This is our projection tab, and this is me running numbers here. So I think it's pretty dang realistic that AMD will grow at about a 30% clip per year on average 2025 to 2028 when it comes to revenue, right? I don't think that's crazy at all. You could run some assumptions that AMD might go to 40 or 50 or 60% revenue growth over the next few years. I'm not going to run with that assumption, right? Especially when you count in the ZT Systems acquisition there and the other acquisition they did recently. I mean, there could be much bigger revenue upside than what I have here is 30%. But I ran 30%, right? Net income growth is going to be pretty extreme for the company next year because they're kind of getting their profitability back. And so they likely should get their net income margins back in the 20s again, which isn't that crazy high. Like Nvidia's running net margins recently of like 50%. It's ridiculous. So we're not even talking about in the same league as Nvidia. Just getting back to the 20s in 2025, right? So, you know, if you're growing at those sorts of rates, even if you assume there's going to be a major slowdown after that, you know, 50 to 70p is pretty fair. So that puts the stock next year in 2025 likely between 270 and 370. So you got to understand there's a potential here that AMD stock doubles next year. Next year, okay? I'm not banking on that. Otherwise, I'm not playing any call options on the stock or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like, there's a realistic potential this stock doubles next year. 2026. From there, basically, I've been growing 30% top line per year, 35% bottom line per year, right? Getting those net margins to 27%, 28%, and then 29% in 2028. Now, a 40 to 60p is very fair for a company that's growing 30% top line, 35% bottom line. You might even say that's low, but they're a hardware-related company, right? So if people want to put them more in the hardware space, it's fine. So you're just going to command a lower P than, let's say, if it was a SaaS company. Because a SaaS company growing 30% top line, 35% bottom line, they might command more to an 80 to 100 PE on that stock, right? So then we have the stock trading 292 to, let's say, 400, low 400 range in 2026. We have the stock trading somewhere between about $400 and about $600 in 2027. And then 2028, somewhere between $500 and $800 in 2028, right? This, folks, is why AMD's a pretty interesting opportunity. Because once again, these numbers aren't pie in the sky, crazy. They're never going to be able to hit that. These are doable numbers for an AMD, and you've got to understand that. But let me take it down a step. Let me go more bearish on AMD. Because I think that's important. You can't just run one scenario whenever you do a stock. Whenever I run full valuations on a stock, I run an ultra bullish case, a bull case, a base case, a bear case, and an ultra bear case, okay? So let me show you a little bit more of a muted case here. This one basically has them doing 25% revenue growth on average. You want to talk about, like, if AMD doesn't average 25% revenue growth from 2025 to 2028, given the opportunity in front of this company, I'll actually say Lisa Su failed. And she never fails. Lisa Su's a beast. She's like one of the best CEOs you've ever seen in the history of the public markets, and certainly of the past 10 years in the market. Top 5. Put her on the Mount Rushmore of CEOs the last 10 years, right? So if she doesn't grow this company at least a 25% clip per year, she failed. So keep that in mind. So 25% very doable here for this company. 150% net income growth. Once again, next year's going to be a big net income up year for the company, right? Get them to about $7.2 billion in net income. And then I have them doing 30% net income growth per year, a little outstripping the revenue, right? So, 35 to 45 PE ratio is pretty fair for this company longer term here, right? If they're growing at 25% top line, 30% bottom line, and they're viewed as a hardware company, just a chip company, right? So it puts the stock somewhere between about $347 and about $446 come 2028, which gives me a compound annual growth rate of 26% on the low end and 34% on the high end, folks. So, yeah, that's pretty darn attractive. That's pretty darn attractive here in regards to AMD. So, moral of the story is AMD's a buy. I honestly I might make a video in the next month, buy AMD stock and don't stop buying. It honestly, the valuation is at such a compelling place with the likely growth rates of this company over the next few years that I'm like, it might justify doing a video like that. Hey, it's Jeremy. I hope you really enjoyed that clip here today. What you're looking at in front of you right there, that's 1000xstocks.com. That is my personal advanced software that I use to make my investment decisions when I go to invest in companies. As somebody that's been in the market 15 years, I got sick and tired of using these different services that folks have out there that are designed for traders in the market. People that are looking to get in and out of stocks. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to long-term invest. I need to be able to see all the different ratios and metrics that are very important for me as a long-term investor to judge if I'm getting a great deal on a stock or if I'm getting ripped off on a stock. I need to be able to compare different companies versus each other and be able to do that in a matter of seconds rather than it taking hours like it used to before I created this service. I want the ability to listen to conference calls, see SEC filings all in one service. That is what we've created with 1000xstocks.com. If you are looking to access this software, go down to the description area of this video. You can click the link down there and apply for access. If you don't want to do that and you want to search a website, go to 1000xstocks.com. Enjoy it. AMD. Everyone should buy the stock or own this stock. When you look at AMD, I mean, they're an unbelievable chip company that's in the forefront of several different major technological shifts that are going on right now and will be going on for the next several decades. And they're one of maybe 2 companies in the world that's extremely well positioned to benefit massively over this next 10, 20, 30 years. Whenever I think about these sorts of companies, I think about Nvidia and I think about AMD, and they're the most well positioned. Now, to tell you how special the stock is as a buying opportunity right now, public account, it's a very illustrious account, right? And I've got so many stocks that have performed tremendous on SoFi and Revolve and Elf and Amazon and Palantir and PayPal and Tesla, Meta, right? Here's the deal. I'm going to add AMD to this portfolio this coming week. I'm going to do it. I'm going to add AMD this upcoming week. And in order to get in that portfolio, especially nowadays, you got to be a damn good company, man. I'm not just adding anybody nowadays. There's got to be something special about you to get in that portfolio. And when I look at AMD and I look at the growth rates, I look at where the valuation's at, I look at where I see things going on the technology side over this next 5-10 years. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity. And then the management team there with Lisa Su is unbelievable. With a great balance sheet at that company and the recent acquisitions they've done, they just set the company up so well. So yeah, I'm going to likely be adding that stock in this portfolio. And that's going to be one of those stocks that I'm going to look at a couple years from now and is going to say 100% plus gain. I truly believe that. I truly believe this stock will be a 300, 400, 500, even more than that dollar stock in the future, right? And once again, if somebody can't buy a whole share of AMD, like I said, so many of these brokerages now allow you to buy slices of these stocks and start building out a portfolio, right? Now, additionally, I spoke about the stock a couple times recently on the channel. 5 days ago, I spoke about the stock. I believe it was one of the stocks I featured in 5 Stocks I'm Buying Now, December 2024 edition. So if you guys didn't get to check out that video, you can check that out for more in-depth analysis. And then this video here, I spent $33 on this stock today. If you haven't gotten a chance to check out that, I talk about like 5 stocks I put $33,000 in, was that 2 days ago or whatever. So if you didn't get to check out that video and you want to hear more about AMD talk and kind of analysis and whatnot, check out those videos there, okay?